Welcome back to What's on My Needles, and this week we are starting a new project. It should take about 2 weeks to get through this one, and what we're going to be working on is this. This is a market bag. So built-in handles and a really pretty lace pattern that is really simple to work up. It does start from the bottom up, and it is a repeating lace pattern. So not only repeated around the 8 sections of the bag, but also once we get up to the body of the bag, it does repeat in an 8-row repeat going up, which means endlessly adjustable. I have one size that I sell and on Theatrical Crafts, and that will be linked in the description below. If you are interested in the pattern, let me know and maybe we can make that happen. So let me get set up for the first little bit, which will be the cast on, and I will be right back. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe to these social media platforms. Links will be provided in the description below. So we are going to start with the cast on. So this cast on is actually worked with a crochet hook, but is not a professional cast on. It is a magic loop cast on, not to be confused with magic loop knitting. They're actually two different things. So I've got my loop that is the working end put over the tail end. And I'm going to insert my hook. I'm going to draw up a loop. And then I'm going to yarn over my hook and draw up another loop, locking the first one in place. So I'm pulling up a loop, yarning over, and pulling through that one. And I'm going to continue that for a total of 8 stitches. And I am working over 2 strands on the loop, so I am working over the tail. That partially locks the tail in place, and it just gives a very stable base to work on. So now I'm going to pull the stitches off the end of my hook. If you have a crochet hook that has a wider handle or an ergonomic grip handle, you won't be able to do this, so you'll have to pull them off from the hook end. Now I'm actually just going to put it onto 2 needles for the moment. Eventually this will end up working with 5 needles. So right now to knit I would be working with 3. So I will be splitting these stitches in half one more time in a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and knit all the way around. That gives us a nice solid center to our bag. And then we'll go ahead and start with the lace work. So this lace work pattern only has a few stitches in it. So there's knitting and yarning over and knit 2 together, and SSK, and either central double decrease, or there are other acronyms for that particular one. But we will get there in a little bit. So I've done my first round. I can tell that I'm done with my round because where my working yarn is directly above where my original tail is. So I'm going to knit 1 and yarn over, knit 1 and yarn over. And I'm actually going to pause there and add the next needle. It's not necessary to add the needles at this point, but it is slightly easier than continuing on just 2 for me. If you are perfectly fine working itsy bitsy to slightly bigger with that many needles, you do you. Okay. And all the way around. Now if we were working this in the flat, so like the Web of Shawl then I would be purling back across. Since we are not working in rows, we are working in rounds, that purl row turns into a knit row. I will just be knitting all the way around. Then the next row is actually the exact same. So it's again knit one, yarn over one. So I will actually get to a slightly more interesting row a little bit farther down the line, and I will be right back. If you would like to help fund this page, please find me on Patreon at Theatrical Crafts. So I have gotten a little ways in, but let's go ahead and show what I mean by a central double decrease. So I'm going to work over to it. So I'm going to knit one, yarn over and knit one, and then I'm going to slip the first stitch so that it is sitting with the right leg in the back. And then I'm going to slip the next two so that they are facing the right direction for knit two together. Again, if you knit quote normally, you won't have to do that. And then knit two together, slip that first stitch over, knit one and yarn over. So once again, it is a slip one and then knit two together and then pass the slip stitch over. So that's either a central double decrease or it's there are a lot of different acronyms for that one, but it essentially takes 3 stitches to become one, and that is the center of each wedge. So I'm going to keep working on this until I get to a point where I will be able to switch to these. Since working from double points onto circulars is a bit tricky, I'd like to show you guys how to do that step again. It is on a previous video, but I'm going to show that, and then I will show how to work the handles. So I will see you next time. This video was sponsored by Sam Cardenas, my stylist at Color Street. To find a link to my party through her, please check the description below.